Shinobi, Sonic, Sonic and Knuckles, Sega CD, Sega 32X. Yes, all running on the Raspberry Pi 3 with a mini Sega Genesis setup and front end. Yes, please add the Magpie case and some Hyperkin or 8-Bito Sega Genesis controllers, and you are in Sega retro gaming bliss. And that's just it. This is a new image that was dropped preloaded. You can also just start with this Blast 16 front end, but look how gorgeous this is. And in this video, I'm going to not only show you this build, which is ready to go out of the box, but also show you the great features of how it's easy to add bezels, it's easy to add shaders and filters. So if you want that experience of those CRT scan lines, you can easily enable and disable it without going into any kind of code. It's a simple press of a button. This thing is fantastic. All you newbies out there, all you people intimidated by the Raspberry Pi 3, look no further, because this is a great setup. So first off, when you do first boot up, this is going to be in a different language. As you see on the bottom there, the games are in English, but on the bottom there, what your buttons do are not in English. So what you want to do is hit start on your controller. B button, general is general. Go ahead, B, you're gonna hit B again, and then gonna go left until you go to English. Something else is really cool while you're in here. I went ahead and turned my background music off. It does have background music on. That's a simple press of a button there. And look at the logo at the top. You could change the logo depending on what region you're in, whatever region you grew up in, but maybe you want to pretend you want to be from a different region. You could do that here. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on US for that. And then I'm just going back with C on my, I'm using the Hyperkin GN6 Premium controller for this review. It was plug and play. I did not have to set up the controller at all. So as you see here, this is a Blast 16 custom front end. I'll get into these little options and things later, but look at this. Look how smooth this is. Look at the background moving. This image comes with SG-1000, Sega Genesis, Sega 32X, and Sega CD games. There's a total of around 600 games or so on this build. It's about an 18 gigabyte file. When you download it, you then have to extract it. It then turns into a 20-something gigabyte file. So you are going to need a 32 gigabyte micro SD card for this build to work. But as you see, there's the sound. There's awesome stuff here. You can favorite using the Y button on your controller. Look at that. Favorite, unfavorite, favorite, unfavorite. I can go to my favorites by hitting that, and you can also go and load your states. Like, this is like RetroPie tries really hard to mimic a lot of the functionality of these mini systems, but this load state screen is exactly like you'd see on like the SNES Mini or the Sega Genesis Mini. So really cool that it's that easy to do. So there you go. I'm just going to click on a game. We have a little bit of a loading screen. It says Blast 16. And then it should boot up. And as you see here, it sees my gamepad. It should also see your gamepad if you're running 2 controllers. Great game, by the way. I think I forgot what even game I clicked on. I think I clicked on Mickey Mouse. All right. You can definitely change your controls, but the bezels as well. You can do no frame if you want. Which jump in the frame. There you go. Okay, do you have to kill this guy? Just watch Can I do something with those? So in the start menu here, you have settings. You can go ahead and go into settings. General settings, you can do what I was showing you earlier. Then you have emulation settings. Look at this. You can have auto load, yes or no. You can do what core you want to use. Are you going to use a scaler, any kind of filter, scan lines? Look at this, yes or no. And then TV filters, monochrome, composite, S-video, RGB. So all those types of things that you guys want to get that retro look, all you have to do is go TV filter and play with them here and, have some fun there. Frame, this is basically your bezel. Something like that is cool. The 32X is cool. Classic red. Or you can do none. Look at that, no bezel at all, and just keep the black space. So really easy just to do that. So let's go back. That's general, that's emulation. Input. Here's where you're gonna set up your controllers. Input mapping, multiplayer configuration, connect a new gamepad, reset your Bluetooth cache. So if you wanna set up that 8-bit-o Bluetooth controller, you could do it right there. What do we have in tools? Delete game. So you get this image, you don't like some of these games, too many games for you. Well, there you go. Go ahead and delete some images. Resize your box art. Get into RetroArch when you could do all sorts of stuff like that, and then command line, which a lot of you probably are not going to get into. And then in help, there you go. You got a little QR code you could scan if you want some additional help. Credits, you can see who all was involved. And then if you want to reboot or shut down your computer or your Pi. Really cool that there's a shutdown button. That's great. Okay, and then that leads us back out here. So moving up and down just goes from favorites to Genesis. As you see in the upper left-hand corner, it's changing the button there. So this is in alphabetical order, and I've yet to find a way to jump around. Maybe that's something I need to bind on my controller, but it's not bound to get started with. But I'm going to go ahead and load Sonic 2, the classic Sonic game. There we go, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So go ahead and click B. Bezels, so I'm not running bezels right now, and I have no scanlines on whatsoever. Start and select at the same time gets you into RetroArch. Save and load your states really easily. That's cool. Fast forward shortcuts. And then reset the game shortcuts. Go back to exit shortcuts. So there's save state shortcuts, load state shortcuts, which is my Z and C key. But again, I didn't rebind my keys. I might have to play with that. You can fast forward. You can load and save your state. You can reset the game and just reset the whole cart, if you will, like start the game from, reboot the game, or you can exit to menu using the select and hotkey. I can continue to play with these scan lines, find some fun stuff. As I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and go into some aftermarket parts you might want to run, but this is stock clock, Raspberry Pi 3B Plus. You should be able to get this whole setup for super cheap, and right now it is limited to the Sega consoles. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to expand on that and get into Super Nintendo, Nintendo, arcade, MAME, Dreamcast. They should be able to expand it eventually. I'm sure it depends if they feel like it or not. It's just a matter of resources and things like that. But in my opinion, Simply Awesome came out with a Sega only background. I think Ruckus maybe, or someone else came out with a Sega mini background for RetroPie, mind you, which has its benefits in that it does support Dreamcast and PSP and all this other stuff that this currently does not support. But this is just so user friendly. You could give this to a child and it's like an iPad. They would absolutely know how to do it. If you give a terminal, a Linux-based terminal port to someone, which again, RetroPie is not that hard, but a little more difficult, you give that to a kid, they're gonna have a little bit steeper of a learning curve. And when I say a little bit more, it depends on the kid, depends on the person. But I do not know of much easier experience other than like Recall Box or something like that comes kind of close to this type of plug and play experience. So with all that said, amazing stuff. Really shout out to all the people in the credits here that worked on this project. It is amazing to say the least. And lastly, if you really want to put the finishing touches on this build, I highly recommend the RetroFlag MegaPi case. As you see, it looks just like a Genesis. The power buttons do work. You do have to set them up, but they will work. The opening at the top of the system opens up. You can put your SD cards in there. You still have fully access to everything. This one does not have the fan included, although I'll put a link to one that gives you a fan and a heatsink included. And then there are their own controllers as well. These controllers are decent. I'd say they're definitely good bang for your dollar. I'm a little bit bigger of a fan of the Hyperkin controller just because I've been using it for a lot longer and I've been having really good results with it. I also like that the Hyperkin controller, you can't really see it in this photo here, but it does have a little button here on the upper right hand side that is called a mode button. So you do get two buttons. You do have a start and a select potentially on there. Do get the premium, don't get the general one. The premium one is much better in my opinion. And then if you want wireless, 8BitO does sell their own for an extra $10 as well. So if you want to put these finishing touches, you have your Raspberry Pi, you have the image, but now you want the cool setup in front of your TV or your computer, you can get this case, the controllers, and there really is not going to be any difference except that it's going to be, you know, have the Sega logo on it or Genesis logo on it. That's all you're going to be getting differently, and this one could play much more. You can add PlayStation and Nintendo 64, all kinds of other systems as well, arcade, Neo Geo. And by the way, these controllers make great fighting game controllers. So your Street Fighters, your Mortal Kombats, a lot of fun on these controllers. So with all that said, if you're interested in that, links in the description below. That's the image. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.